السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حشم اللي نكتبتين تنبكا عالم تنكركو اللي جيتي منني اللي نجاكي ما إحنا تنونا منقوم سنهدو منا تاكيو كتاشنه. حشم اللي دكتور جما موسى جما كي حشم اللي أحمد سليمان ليه أبنورينو في دين جرا ليه كنيسنا هنمتنا نينوم تاك بسوه تجينا اللي حجرا ليه بسنا البودانينه كبر دوان شنو نحجري هنا نملل تما من قد تبليني تما همبروري إلى لنا ساهوت مسكاكة هي إيو أرجو فتيه تنمي عدس إنه يحاونا كنون لما فل حزنه هنا تاني كبارت نجارة إرتيا من كوهن كده دكتور جما موسى جما كه حشمل أحمد سليمان كده نح يحين عدو سكو كني ملامت أبرا الليل حشمل أحمد سليمان زيادة عدوديم كادو عصبي أيت كهتنم تاك بسوسنا البونه نينم كتاه الليل أجينا اللي بدلي يكه يعني مدة نهم بلوكني يوت اللي أكاها تبليني كهلل حشمل دكتور جما هرجسا كوكيني أكني نول هيانم مبلي حشملي أحمد سليمان ليل لندن كو نول هيانه. First of all, on behalf of you, everyone, on behalf of the Saho community all over the world, I welcome Dr. Jama Musse Jama from Hargeisa, Somaliland, and our honorable friend and colleague Ahmed Suleman from London. Here they are with us this evening to update us the latest developments on the Saho Corpus. So stay tuned, and before we go further, I would like to check if the audio and the video are going well. Ahmed بصالح رواه قبل كنيو. Okay, so GAAB ISHO Suleman Said. Okay, thank you everyone. Dr. Jama, welcome to our show, and I don't know where to start. I'm excited really to have you all guys here. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook. Hopefully, if the line internet goes well, we will stream all in two platforms, if not on Facebook. So most of you know who Dr. Jama is, and also Ahmed Suleman. Dr. Jama is ethnomathematician and the director of Hargeisa Cultural Center, and I can't list all the areas he works, and now he is the key person in the Saho Corpus, Saho language corpus development, and the Ahmed Suleman is and also a friend, our colleague. Ahmed Suleman is organizational consultant, and now he is the leading figure in giving consultation and organizing this Saho Corpus to go in the right direction. So, Doctor, let me start with Dr. Jama. If you would like to introduce yourself or directly jump into the topic to update us, what happened after we met here in London, after the launching of the Saho Corpus? What happened? Can you briefly tell us, please?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much, Ustad Ahmed Saad, and it's always a pleasure to share the platform with Brother Ahmed Suleman, with whom I spent a wonderful time recently working on the Saho Corpus and beyond. what happened after we are about a year, 2 years when we started this project, and when we launched the project, and today, of course, there is a much difference positively. There has been huge progress since we are now live on some platforms, and people will listen. Probably people are not on the same page about the corpus itself, about the technology that we are talking about when it comes to the African languages, about specifically Saho Corpus project. So I would take a few minutes to go back and formulate my starting point in basically 3 fundamental points. One is why it is important, because of we are more convinced ourselves, and not only ourselves, why it's important to talk about today corpus, or today about language technology, or about how the new technology is affecting our life, our identity, because of affecting the language. The second point I want to touch will be where we stand now. So the question that you asked me basically from the last months that the project was on, what happened. And the third point, briefly, not for this discussion, but hopefully for another discussion, what I have seen in your beautiful country when it comes to the language, when it comes to the Saho language, in my recent travel to Eritrea. So these are 3 points that I will quickly touch, then we will come back, of course, for further conversation. Why it's important? Well, if you want, there's nothing new about the conversation of language development, language documentation, language preservation, and it's a kind of an aspect that went and go hand in hand with the language itself studying. So our generations, past generations, from one generation to another, they focused on how to preserve our language, because of our languages are our identities. Our languages are the kind of a formation for us of our thought, so to speak. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this opportunity to and differentiate us from many other living entities, because of we speak and we identify ourselves and we express ourselves in a language. So if our mother tongue, if our language are not developed, then we will left behind. Recently, from the academic side, people were talking about dying languages, like the language is like as a kid, they born, they grow, and they grow up, and then they become old, and then they die. They might die. What causes the language to die? We don't have the discussion at the moment for time for that discussion. But the reason why we talk about endangerment of our language to die is not anymore as in 1970s or in even 80s and in 1990s. Academics changed their mind because of language initially was to be declared dead if there is no anymore people who are as a mother tongue speaking their first language in that language. Now, the situation is changing because of, even though we have millions of people who are speaking in some languages, if that language is left behind in the technology, it's becoming a language that cannot function. And if the language cannot function, then we have a problem, because it's as our children, our grandchildren will move and use another language just because of their mother tongue will not be functional. With that, they will lose their identity. With that, they lose with their history. With that, they lose everything that identifies. So it's a fundamental that the concept of preserving and development language goes with the technology today. Sure. And that's why it's very important to have elements like the corpus, the simplest functionality of having spelling checker in your word processor, or have automatic translator, or are having any kind of language functioning with your computer is becoming extremely fundamental. If today you don't have a way to translate automatically your language with another language, then your language will be left behind. Not only, and I will touch the last point on why the importance, we are going to the so-called the fourth industrial revolution, where the computers and the robots and the smart house, smartphone, smart house, smart everything will take over. If our languages are not prepared for that, then we will be forced and condemned to speak with our computers, with the robots, with our house, in English or in another language, not language that belong to us. So it's becoming fundamental that our languages grow and develop within technology. Now,
Okay,
what
Dr.
happened?
Jama, don't forget to continue. Let me bring in Ahmed, and just to summarize what you were saying to our public. حشمال لأنك تتانت كادو دكتور جما حي نحي يعني عدس من قمرك أي ما بيتانين غارو تناونا كتين أرسكار حيانم أبي أني وامرك بوكاكو كادو دي تما ساهوت لوكا هي أفاد هيدولي ساهوت مسكاكة هي أفاد لك أفاد شمم أي كني يرحين السرو ناكو عقدي إتي تما وقتك إني كادو ينكي يرهيانم إنكو تما تنا تكنولوجي لي ساهوت لوكا هيدول فاينن لوكا أديو ويتنكو ولا من قمر يكونا دا قمر يكونا تما لوكا هواني شامره تما لوكا حيوما كي بكيت لهم تما لوكا ربطو دعتا ولا ما ددك سينها ما كادو اللغة جينها ربطة يرحيني من الدوانشنا ولا وقت اللي وينمي تكادو أبنعيو أما اللغة ربطنكو دودا عيو كنام كني بكاكو جحنه لوقت أدوركنا حاو كنوتا أو سكاد حيانمكو حشملي أحمد سليمان أولها هم كعنا قانو تميتم اسكي كادو أولها نو أكادي عاكها أكا فردشمتاكا كماشرا رجينيو مثلا أتوجه كاتمارو فردة أرحين فردم مثلا حيولي كوكي عدونا فردم تيلنكو أم هيكو لدي الشك أولو كسكي كاديت جراد دهيدو كاديتا كوتاد كبر مثلا كوكو إلى نم كبر كوكو لنواري عملا نيك بوكالا ودوا كتير مثلا توبكس نواريشو ميتاني تو صوت
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم جنبنا زلل الفكر القول والعمل. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. رمضان مبارك. Although it's halfway, I believe, but still, because we haven't met most of you, so I would say Ramadan Mubarak. And it's a pleasure actually to share the platform with Dr. Jama and also Ustaz Ahmed Saad. As usual, and hopefully that we will be able to cover some of the things which Brother Ahmed Saad has mentioned. I think you've done well. I mean, in introducing me, that will be enough for now.
Okay, good.
But yeah, that will be enough. Obviously, I second actually all what Dr. Jama was saying at the beginning. And he's the lead of figure in this project, which we are lucky enough as Saho speaking Eritreans and anyone who is Saho speaking person to have Dr. Jama with us and to embark on this project.
Definitely.
Accidentally, and as I said in the beginning, and one of our launch events, that my first question to him was, how did you come? We're lucky to have you, but how did you come into this, and how do you arrive into that? And to be honest, he was saying this is the question which my dad asked me. And so in any case, I mean, we are so lucky as Saho, and this is a big opportunity which we will cherish. We will work hard to make it to materialize as we would like it to be, inshallah.
Okay.
So going back to your question, I second all what you were saying, the importance of language. And as Dr. Jama was saying, language does form the consciousness of people. In Arabic, we always say تشكل الوعي, the consciousness of people.
Yep.
And with that comes history, with that comes identity, with that comes culture, its broader meaning. And it happens to be that what comes to my mind is in the importance of language and preserving the language. Almost like over 70 or nearly 100 years ago, one of the poets of Sicily, who actually born 1899, he did say that if a people, you cannot make a people poor or subjugate them unless you deprive them from their own language. That was a long poem, but this is one of the main verses within that poem. And so this shows the importance of it. Maybe Dr. Jama will Google him because he is from Italy as well, as part of his Ignazio Biotia.
Yeah.
His name is Ignazio Biotia. So he's known poet. So this is the importance of language. And I believe Noam Chomsky is the prominent linguist of 21st century, and he also happens to be the social reformer. He did put it clearly that language is not only to understand other people, but to understand ourselves, and also to deal with realities.
Yeah.
And so the importance of language comes into that. And maybe we will elaborate more later as a point of importance of language and identity.
Sure.
And identity and psychology of a person as well. We will talk about it later. So I will leave the chance for Dr. Jama to enlighten us.
Thank you, Ustaz Ahmed. Of course, I will have more time with you later to speak about specifically this language, Saho language corpus project in details and what has been done so far, especially in Eritrea. Dr. Jama, back to you. Sorry for interrupting. Just I want him to introduce himself, or just to add, bring him on track. Continue, please. You were saying language is very important and should be kept throughout the generation, and especially in this time or era of the technology. One language should not remain backward or left behind. Ahmed mentioned how did you end up coming or working in Saho language, and now you are also expanding to the whole East African. That, as I know, you are also involved in many languages in different countries of Horn of Africa or East Africa. Please continue what you were saying and tell us, especially focus on what is importance of this project.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ustad Ahmed Saad. It was good to interrupt because of I like more conversation rather than going long lectures, and I would have loved to have opportunity and feedback from our audience as well. So thank you, and please do continuously, because of that's a way that we can bring conversation more interesting. The point is, if the idea of language preservation and development changed, as we said, I wanted to focus on what's happening in Africa, because at the end of the day, what's going on is that the majority, the extreme majority, and all, I would say, of the African languages ended up in a block of language known as a low resource language. And what does it mean? That automatically we can translate simply poor, despite we are rich in many other aspects, and we could be richer in many other aspects, financially, creatively. Imagine our long history of oral poetry. Despite of this, we can be poor in the new era because of our languages are not present in the technology. So they are called low resource language, which means in the technology, in the digital world, the new world that we are living in, we don't have resources for those languages. So you don't have any data in digital form. And this happens in many African languages where the culture of writing came late.
Yeah.
Somali has been written and has a script only from 1972, and imagine many other languages that some of them doesn't even have a script because of the orality of our culture. And so what happened? If we have no written material and we move it to the digital world, then we don't have resources in a digital format, in a written form. We might have, in fact, there is a kind of new orality that's coming up now with YouTube, with WhatsApp, with the voice rather than writing. So it's a kind of a switch, I think. But despite of this, we don't have in a digital format our thoughts, our thinking, our poetry, our history, our language, our literature, everything that we had remained in orality, or if they were written, they remained in an analog format. So again, one more time, we are left behind because of not we don't want to use, because of if you look on TikTok or on social media, the people who are using are Africans. The majority of the people who are using in the social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or TikTok, are people who are coming from the global south and African countries. But they don't have those contents in written form, in a digital form. So the language, again, our language were basically cut off, and we don't have translators, or we don't have a way to. So who should do this work? Should we expect that someone comes from outside and mainly from the Western countries and do it for us? No, because of that will never happen. We have to do for ourselves. So when I was doing my PhD, I worked on Somali Corpus, on Somali language development in technology and so on. But then, because of, as brother Ahmed Suleman was saying, quite by accident, I ended up the first language that I worked beyond the Somali, which is my mother tongue, in where the Somali is in different countries, the major language, including Somaliland, Somalia, Djibouti, some part of Ethiopia, Kenya, those countries where Somali is the language of the people, of majority of the people, lack it of this technology. And I worked in my PhD, it was a very long time ago. Luckily, it worked well. Somali became one of the languages at the most, somehow, when it comes to the Corpus, the most developed African language because of the number of tagged words it has. I don't want to go in this conversation in details, but just to mention that, and if we do things about ourselves, then we can sort out the problems. If we wait others to come, that solution will never help us and will not sort out. So after the Somalia, I worked on Saho because of by accident, because of just a mission, because of I don't have a reason, and I don't want even to have a reason to. I remember when the first time I met your brother Ahmed Saad in the British library, it was strange that
Amazing.
we was asking you a language that I don't speak, that I have never met, even not only Saho speaking Eritrean, but even Eritrean, to talk about these issues. So things happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us that something happening, and it was a good, absolutely good starting because of today. And this is a really, really, really good news. The Saho language is second language that has as much as numbers from the languages of the continent, in terms of words tagged, in terms of data uploaded, in terms, and this is happening not because of I was working, but for the whole people who since 1978, 88, 87, early 70s, working on the language of the Saho language. They didn't put on the internet, they didn't have the digital world, but they worked on the language, studied on the language, developed it, written about it. And the people I met back in Asmara a week ago, 10 days ago, I was amazing because of the work of these people who, even when they were fighting for the independence of the country, were still working and developing on the language. The work that they have done helped and allowed me to work a language of which I don't know even one single word to work and develop an IT resources for that language. Of course, many foreign, Western, mainly Italian, but not only Italian colleagues who worked on the Saho language for a long time, including Giorgio Banti, Moreno Vergari, Roberto Vergari, and others. The work these people have done allowed us, since the day that we launched in London, the program, to have today over 700,000 words tagged in a language that until 2 years ago had known neither corpus. Still, we don't have translators, we don't have automatic translator, we don't have Google Translator, but we will come there. We are arriving to reach in those important targets. But it's a very short time with the initiative of individuals and the groups and the community led. I remember that enthusiasm of the community in London, which I have seen much more in Eritrea, in Asmara and elsewhere recently. People who want to make difference. And in so short time, alhamdulillah, we made a difference. And today we have a corpus that is functioning, have all the functionality from concordance, collocations, frequencies, statistics, sections from poetry to political discourses to the scientific and academic and textbooks, education syllabus, a corpus that has within all aspects of the language. If you go and I'm sure that Ahmed, you will share, Ahmed Saad, you will share some screenshot or invite people to go to the directly to the Corpus website. The contribution from the young people was amazing. If you see how people, because of they feel the ownership. So my next point to where we stand at, we are in a position to claim that in soon the Saho language might not be part of those languages called low resources. Because of if we develop the corpus well and go beyond and work on the other functionality that needs and the data set that's needed, and we are putting this data for free for any researcher who is working on it without having a particular access, people can use. Young generation who are doing their master's degree can have their thesis and work on it. The PhD students who are there now are working in back in Eritrea and outside, they can develop more functionalities that's needed in order to declare officially that the Saho language has a resource, have enough resources to develop the functionality. So for the second point, and I will stop here to give you back the conversation, we are in an amazing position that no one of us, not only the three of us who are now in this screen, but all those people who were working with us and supporting wouldn't expect to arrive in so short time. So alhamdulillah, I can't say anymore, alhamdulillah. Back to you.
Thank you دكتور جاما. حسب لي انك الثاني كتاب لي قنتها ترجمة نهب تندو يدحين مبضل يلا ميتيانه كادو أسك أرحيسو جام هدولات إنجليز أرحيانيني من كوسا هو نيدا دبو ساعة بينكو برنامج لما ساعة نكو بيو معنا كني إنكو ولا نرحو وينمي أروري أسك أرحيننكو سنك نرحو مثلا بكاكو تاغدو تا ساهوت مسكاكا أي فرد شمتا هدولي ساهوت كوربس أي فرد شما ساهوت لوكا عنكو رسكتينياكو انترنت أرحد لهانا كادو يعني وقت إلاكا هديك هبانا ما أي فرد شمتا يارحين السروك إني بوكاكو أدب ينم لكن أكاد هرجيني كعازل لك حنينكو ساهوت لوكا تما مانجو يلا كن حيل لوكاتكو إن كتاكي تينك هديه كني إدري مثلا تا صدفة كني لكن ساهول يشتغلوا مثلا يلي حياجة شيشة ساهول يشتغلوا يميت جدا إدري ستة جيني قد مثلا ولا إنكي عنكره ساهوكو أرجي مينه ولا يوبه جنته يعريك تمرعتا كادو لكن ساهوكو تلابه أكي لغات جنته معتها كها أيكني دوكومنت ذاك هبناك هيدولي لك هداك هنحفزك ملو أكي ديك كاللي جنته ساهو بسمكي أشتغلي يعني أولا ساهوت لوكا ساكني سومال لوكا يفجدتي أكني تما كادو نبلي مثلا ترجمة جوجل تياكو إنكو هكي تكنولوجي تي أروح اللي أربشة تياكني ساهول أما أروح اللي يد بيو مصريا أما الليل ساهوت أما سومال هي جنته زمودينو ليا ولا زمودينو على ويتمي جنته تما يفجده يعني نوا سهيلي هكيلو قالي يدبو دي عنكني كادو ديك اسمرا اريتريا يديه هنا حشملي احمد اميد معيتي سرحنا هو انشو كني امل ولا اريتريا سن حريه هندفليك وليغا بوكو اصلاح ديبا وليغا بوكو ليه تعليم ديبا دي يعني ديك كنانكني وبلم ولا دبدي أنا هانيك تمام لغة فادت كي لغة أي درس كي تمام دومي شنوني كادو وبلقد الليل تمام عملت أشتغل حيو فريق يعني دوميكو لوني مبلقد الليل نبى درجة قفنو دعنام كادوكو أبلو ديعة ليل تكاد أولو وقت تد قفنو دعنام ديكتي مرة كي يروم مرة إلا بين خدمة كني ديكتي مري أكها سجى كهابا سجاني يمكنون يروم مرة كل ليل مثلا أكي ماردا جيت ساهوت لقال أشتغل سوقتيا يعني أسن نهيو حين أيكني نو ينقد هدول ليل داتا بيز داتا كو وقلنا جدا ليل تكادو قفنو دعنا درجة قفانا نينو مثلا ماريانو برغاري روبرتا برغاري بروفيسور جورجو بانتي جاني دوري إنكو تماجينا لماري ساهول لي أشتغلي تنه أشتغلي يعني مرة كنون تاسادي في الثانية عواتشون فاندا أكيدنا نانوكادو الوقت الدم الحنابول شهتيا قفنو دعنا مي تما ديك إرول تكعيوه كني ديك إرول ليالين كده ستة بريني هي دين قدام انقشغلي يا كوريعة ساهو ليل والله الحسو جه سومال لوكا كادو أددك سينو مي فرايد هي سومال لوكا ملو أفريقياتي لوكاتكو أفتي درجة برتما كوربستي أفادتي أرحا ساهو ملامهتني أما ياجين هكني ترحيني استنرتان كادو السروسنا هدبوكيو أجين هكني ساهو ملامهتنا ودعتم أكيد تيكو تفيد اللغات رخاه ميانو تلحونا كتن أما تيا وسونو هدبوكين حشمال أحمد أما ديسكي مبروت اللنكو رواكا هنيك إنكي إنكي حيوتي شوك كم نانكو أتولي مثلا تمام السر اللي يخوي هسكر بيا لكن أسوكار حيسو جميد مثلا تكاد درجة حقو في نودعنم أي كنت نتلحو دعتا. So can you add also your perspective, brother Ahmed, what Dr. Jama has been saying about this short time development, how far we come, and why do you think this is? Why do you think we reached this much in a short time? Unmute yourself, please.
Yes. I need to put it on. Okay. Yeah. It's actually, as Dr. Jama was saying, as also you commented on it. It's a will. It's a big will,
yeah.
And this will is supported by everybody, even the people who are not linguistics.
Yeah.
They really wanted to preserve their own language, and as Dr. Jama was saying, this will, and it's adding on it a political will as well. this gives it a momentum, this gives it a drive for people to be able to do their effort. And this collective effort brought us to where we are now. And it is a fact that, as briefly mentioned, and we have spoken about it before, that back in 1983 at the field, there was a very important workshop which has been led by linguists, and the leading linguists were Tesfanki El Abarra. He's a martyr, Shahid Tesfanki El Abarra. He was the one who was leading it. And that's the time when they have discussed it back in 1983, and we're talking about 40 years now back, saying the importance of preserving those languages. And that's when they have decided 6 of the Eritrean languages to be written. Among them was Saho. And luckily that we have one person as well as the head of Asmara team, Ustaz Ibrahim Muhammad Ali, who is actually among the people who have been in that meeting and who are among the people who have been listed as 6 people to work on Saho language all the way back to 40 years. So it is a collective effort of everybody. And we can go back up to 1841 when Saho was written in different forms. Saho was written back in 1841, Latin, there was Ge'ez, and there was also Arabic. And all these efforts and all the work which has been done, which we will talk about later, inshallah, different teams who are working in developing the language, all comes into all these materials, all this data we have. And we are lucky enough to have a person who have this technology as well, who is among us, Dr. Jama, to be able to take this data and put it in technology to pre-preserve it forever, inshallah, and to be among the languages which would survive, not demise. As you all know, linguicide, all the linguists will know, linguicide is a death of language. A death of language can happen naturally and sometimes could be a political cause. In our case, the political will is there. The natural cause which could let the language demise is many, but hopefully that we are in a position now to say Saho will be among the languages which will survive and which will be part of technology and part of future. This is what I would like to say, and then maybe we can come back.
Thank you, Ahmed Gabi ISHO. Okay, Dr. Jama, back into you. I have 2 questions. I raised it to myself before. And I see also from the public some questions. I want you to focus on the contribution of our community toward this project to be successful. And before you do that, just take us through your experience when you visited Eritrea this month, obviously. Last month. So how did you find Eritrea?
I think we need to have another conversation to talk about Eritrea. And it was amazing and eye-opening trip beyond what anything expectation that I had before I traveled. Beautiful country, beautiful people. It was something else, honestly. And I promised it to Ahmed and also to you that we have to have another conversation dedicated on the trip itself, not on the Saho language and on the Corpus, because of it was beyond any words what they can express. But what I have seen, this thing that I did read about, and so the long term idea and willingness of the people to talk, to study, to develop the language, which of course our works were based and the scholars who were contributing, including yourself, Ahmed Saad, Ustad Ahmed Saad, all those works came together with the spirit of the community, because of usually you find easily enthusiasm to work among the colleagues, among the researchers, among the academics, among those who are interested to learn and publish and work academically and develop the language. But differently, what I have seen, starting from our first meetings and most importantly in our lounge in London of the Corpus, the community, young people, adult men and women, has nothing to do with the linguistics, but who are willing and so keen to contribute with whatever they can. What we needed at that time was extremely important, which was how you can contribute with data, because we needed data. People would send scan documents that they have in their houses and they would send. That was the contribution that we needed. People would write an email, a text, a long text or poem that they had in somewhere or they had in their memory, and then they write it down and send you offline or via WhatsApp or by email saying, Dr. Jama, this is a piece of written text in Saho, would be helpful. Yes, it was helpful. That's why we reached to arrive at such a numbers. But the real contribution came in last time when Ahmed traveled to, Ahmed Suleman traveled to Eritrea, the first mission, and then invited in the curriculum department, in the cultural sector, in the ministries, all those institutions involved who had who are working on Saho language to share with us their data and from the radio program. This data that they have sent is the one that really push up that make the difference and made the Saho language corpus as the one of the richest now in African language. So the contribution initially from the academic side, Ustad Ibrahim has been mentioned, but many other people who I have met there, the Saho team, specifically Brother Suleman, people who were really pushing hard and collecting data that they had and they sent, made the difference. What I have seen, and I say that enthusiasm of willingness to contribute, is then what I have met as I landed in Asmara Airport. I met the president, and that meeting may give me the true picture of what the society wanted for their languages. That's why we said, okay, this country whose family's strongest strength is let us work together and grow together in our differences. Why not to go beyond Saho language and go also Eritrean language is something. So that will be, inshallah, next year's project, next upcoming project will be there. So we'll have a chance to speak about that. But what I have seen from the highest authority of the country to the street people living in the and Saho speak, that kind of willingness to contribute is what make a difference. And that's what I have seen. And this is something that I so hardly appreciated, that I didn't know before I embarked working on the language. But even before I met people, Eritrean people, friends that became now friends in home, and I feel really home when I'm in those places. Before even at that month, I have seen in 6-7 days that I was in Eritrea that theory that I had in my mind in practice. So that's what I have seen, and that's what gives us hope, the energy, and the spirit to work on, finish the project on Saho. We are in the second stage. We are finalizing. We have a major target. So I'm telling this to the public because of you guys know well. Yeah. We need to arrive the 1 million words target, and that will be a big news, and that will be a major milestone, and that will be an open channel to the other functionalities, including the parallel texts and automatic translations, spelling checkers, grammar checkers, automatic grammar checkers. But it will allow also, if we get, and that's what we are working on, the parallel text with voice, then work on voice to data or data to, or text to voice or voice to text. That's the terminal, that's the technology that we need. But that technology we cannot even think if we don't have good corpus data, if we don't have big data available for researchers, for other researchers to work with us and to develop their part. And the structure that has been set for the Saho language. And Ahmed, I hope Ahmed Suleman will have time to talk about in detail in this structure that strangely enough, before even we start working together, working perfectly, because of the contribution came from back from Asmara. They are working now. We have seen in our last visit the weaknesses that hopefully Ahmed will speak and touch at some point. But what's missing? What's missing technology-wise, contribution-wise, computers-wise, in order to do the real big step. So the aim is do this, make this workflow of functional structure work, contributing from every single. And so the community, I appeal the community this time, more data than do more contribution, even financially, back to the colleagues who are working hard to have good computers. That might be for those of you who are based in outside, it's easy to get, but there back is really much needed, and it will make huge differences. So one extent that hopefully, inshallah, the target is to arrive to the 1 million words target, develop some functionality, release apps for the young generation who want to use their smartphones rather than the computer. One extent that conclude the second phase of the project. So we start the third phase, which will be the final one for the Saho, and at the same time, at that moment, also see how we can expand. Ahmed Saad, brother Ustad Ahmed Saad, was saying that I was involved in developing another language. Yes, we expanded easily to the Omothana family, which is a family of the Cushitic language, where the Somali is a part of it. So all the languages, sister languages of the Somali, has been easily expanded. So that's what is giving us hope that from Saho we can expect, despite these languages are different in terms of Semitic or Cushitic or Nilo-Saharan, your languages, but because of they share this spirit of let us grow together in unity in our differences, I'm sure that we can put that philosophy to the Corpus side and develop, inshallah, next year for other languages. So that's what I have seen. That's what I have seen from the contribution of the community, and that's what I'm hoping now in practice happen also from the other material contribution that we need, and that mainly the team back in Asmara needs in order to effectively do the big step that we are all hoping. I will stop here. I just want to maybe anticipate you. I have like 20 minutes is still to break my lunch.
Okay, so, yeah, we will let you go. Thank you,
Dr.
Jama.
So I will be staying until I can do, definitely. But if you see me a little bit disappearing because of I have to break Maghrib and break my
I'm sure. Sorry for
No. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here, and I hope I will.
Right. I think I see some questions, and when we say Saho is second in terms of corpus in among African languages, when someone listen or hear these things, it is quite unbelievable. Can you elaborate on this? I can just second, Dr. Jama. I can sala kaniyom Saahot Makaado tadigin ka nanin ko tadigin inkem iyo ko tekemitani amekin nahanik Afrika tulukata de malamah tane tama Saahot Maskaakah gaboko Maskaakah Caddos so Corpus gaboko kinarhiyanam ayanan kini ka sala kaniyom arhi sugam del inshallah معاتي نسمع ياكل لوقته إذا الكبر الدفع وقته وسكر حسوا جم هنا عدوش نكينو أحمد أستاذ أحمد الليل يأكل عتيم بس كمالو كني دكتور جما take lead. Okay.
This is important to clarify, because of then there could be a misunderstanding. Exactly. The technology of the corpus and how to build it, change it for the last 4 or 5 decades that it became an academic branch where natural language processing expertise developed because of how to build a corpus, an accurate and verified corpus. You need to have every single word there to tag, which means to basically describe on the single word on your text. It's a collection of text, but every single word is tagged and means identified with the root word and describe it grammatically and describe it semantically and with the definitions and examples. Now, what happened? You might see there are, for example, in Kiswahili language, there at the university in Finland, working now on a corpus. There are a major project for Ethiopian languages, data collected from different sources, but mainly in Germany and Hamburg University. The difference between those kind of collecting data and the way that we are building the corpus and the formal corpus like national and NBC for the English language or the controlled corpus is something corpus verified by people who are experts and linguists in that language. Today it's easy to go and grab, as Google is doing, to collect data from the internet and then have a huge number of data, like to say that millions of data collected, but randomly collected those texts that Google robots think that it's in Saho language. It happens in Somali. And then when you verify, you see 30 or 40% of data collected automatically, the so-called big data collected contains rubbish, sorry for the word to use, but not spellingly checked, not corrected, not semantically corrected, by definition corrected. So these are the data collected randomly. And usually this is what helped to test the models. But the corpus is a database where you have every single word there is verified and corrected automatically or semi-automatic way that the word is reliable. So when you want to, if you see the Google translator for the Somali language, if you translate it like 2 years, 3 years ago, it would make laugh when you see what the kind of translation they are doing. You can test it in many other languages that you see. But when do you have a corpus, verified corpus, is correctly and verified by people who are linguists or who are experts in that language, and corrected and approved people who speak in that language, then when Google take that one and any other automatic translator takes that, then the translation will be accurate. Then the grammar checker will be accurate. Then the spell checker will be going accurate. If you look how our young people who are using in social media, in their comments, right, in their own language, you will see that, it is not only for the Somali, it's not for the Saho, it's not for the African language, it is for everyone. They are writing badly because they are not interested to write correctly. Just they will quickly want to make a comment that no one is spending time and energy to write correctly what they are doing. So if Google took start of any, I'm saying Google, I have nothing against about the company, but any big data collector, when they collect automatically, this will be the language that will be the reference.
Sure. Okay.
If we do as we did, like Somali corpus, Kiswahili corpus, Omatana family corpus, Saho language corpus, and of course, Arabic is much advanced for all those languages that I'm saying, although Arabic is one of the languages spoken in Africa, but it should not be considered as native African language for the reason that it's shared also by other continent. So it's well developed. But those native non-Arabic African language who had verified data I know that, for example, Tigrinya has been a group working on tagging some data, but maybe someone who speaks can tell us that how many numbers that they have and how they tag it so far. So that's why we declare the Saho Corpus language. When we arrive, mainly the million officially will get rid of the name Saho from low resources languages. So that's what I mean in terms of databases, second verified corpus data in our languages.
Thank you. Yeah, clear. We will, of course, translate what you have said. Is very important. Maybe not now. حشمل انك تتانيت نولي هنا مرة كي نوتا تبش انتا اما يبالي دكتور جمال السروت اللي ننكوس كنو كديا كادو مغرب تقوفا يعني هرقيسا اللي فطور هي دوكني مثلا نلقى حنك من عرقاك وقت قاعدة براعين لكن كبر مثلا السروت اللي ننكو ماسنجرز كي يلا بتاني السرو السرطان دعتان ساهو السرتاني فريق انجليزي فرقا فرنا اللغة السرو كبشنا دعتان كونا دقيقة فانا اللي معنا. So what I'm saying is we will let you go to break your fast and pray al-Maghrib. Maybe within 5 minutes, if someone wants to ask you from our audience, we are opening the floor via messenger. If you can, please call me and we will ask Dr. Jama if you want a question there to ask. Thank you, everyone. Of course, we can't finish speaking about language, about development, about importance of the language, and for me, I always, even if I write, if I speak, I always say I can't believe this is a dream, or I'm dreaming, or I'm living in the real world. What I see happening on the Saho language, and we really appreciate Dr. Jama what you are doing, what you have done for us, and what you are going to do for us, for our community and others. And Brother Ahmed, if you want to add something before me and you go head to head.
Good. Before Dr. Jama leaves, as a person leading in language technology and as a linguistic, I think, as you say, in that talking about a language is talking about human life. I mean, because somebody said language is our humanity. Absolutely. But I will just put it precisely before he leave in what actually Noam Chomsky said. And I do have a lot of respect for this linguistic. He did say that the task of linguistics is to provide a deep account of human language. So in that note, I would say that before Dr. Jama leaves, that thank you on behalf of everyone actually speaking Saho, and also because we are extending this to Eritrean languages, and this started all the way 1 year ago when we said that in Eritrea it is our right and duty to develop our own language, ethnic language, but when we think about growth in Eritrea, we think about collective growth. So Arabic is international, or the 9th language, but the rest of the 8 languages, we want them to grow together. And Saho is taking a lead now, and the rest of 7 Eritrean languages, inshallah, will follow. And this is the program. And so on behalf of all Eritreans and on behalf of all Saho speaking as well, I would like to say thank you. Obviously, we're going to meet again, inshallah. And there is a lot of work ahead of us to accomplish.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. If Ahmed Saad allow me, please.
Sure. Yeah. No question. Absolutely, we will invite you back in a different platform program.
Inshallah.
And thank you, Dr. Jama. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Inshallah. You are most welcome. I would love that the conversation continues in this time in Saho language. So we also the language. And maybe if you can share your screen at some point and maybe quickly, people who might not seen what we are talking about, do one example of searching a word, screen and share, and then see how as of today, how the corpus is functional, and even whether you are learning, whether you are writing, because of it's also for the people who are writing in that language, or whether you are just enjoying and reading your oral poetry, you can get through the situation, the status of the current corpus. I'm sure people will appreciate it. So I'm leaving you. Thank you so much for having me. Definitely, this is a place that we will come back together virtually, and inshallah sometime soon in London again, and then continue working between this part of the world where I am in the Horn of Africa and where you two are, but also the other people who are connected in this. Any question that comes, please pass to me offline, Ahmed Saad, so I will have a way to answer back to the people who might ask.